Hi everyone, I'm Damien. I'm your host here at Growth Hacking 101, the podcast for ambitious permanent makeup and SMP artists who want to maximize their business and maximize their profits. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about a topic that a lot of artists really struggle with, and that is the ability to set firm boundaries with customers. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So everyone, setting firm boundaries. This is an absolutely critical skill that you need to be able to master. The reality is that with any business where we're dealing with the general public, things happen. Not all customers behave in the way that we would like them to. And it's necessary to protect our business to ensure that we stay profitable and efficient and in control. Your policies are there to protect you, protect your client, and also protect your business. They're there for everyone's benefit. However, often clients will try to convince you or manipulate you into bending your policies. And I'm sure all of you have experienced exactly this, where customers are turning up late or where customers are no-showing and asking for their deposits back. Or it might be that there's a customer who hasn't adhered to their aftercare requirements. It might be that customers don't want to pay a booking fee in the first place. It might be that they're wanting to go against your recommendations in terms of the procedure. There's all kinds of ways that customers will try and bend and manipulate your policies, and all of these leave you vulnerable. So it's really important that we keep these in check. Now, new artists, or those artists that aren't particularly busy, who might be struggling a little bit, or those who lack confidence and assertiveness are often more vulnerable to this. And the reason's really, really obvious, because those artists who are not that busy are just happy to get the customer booking and are less likely to have those boundaries in place where they feel comfortable saying no. New artists often have this lack of experience in terms of how to deal with these customers as well. So not only are they more likely to attract these difficult customers, they're more ill-equipped to handle these situations when they arise. So new artists are especially vulnerable to this. So if you've been going for less than a couple of years, please take this on board. Those who lack confidence, this is the big one for me. There are so many artists out there who feel intimidated, who don't like confrontation. They feel that standing by their policies classes as confrontation, and no one likes that. But the reality is that there's nothing confrontational about standing by your policies. But still, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and it's easy for them to feel bullied, particularly if you have a client who is particularly forceful or quite manipulative or quite loud or generally quite intimidating. The thing is, these small manipulations, so, I'm only 15 minutes late, or can I pay you next time, or, going swimming tomorrow, those sorts of things. They are the thin end of what will ultimately become a much bigger wedge. Customers who try to bend and break those rules are always going to be your highest maintenance individuals. They're going to be the people who are most likely to complain. They're going to be the people that most likely to request bigger changes to your policies or bigger exceptions. You let them get away with it once and they'll keep doing it. Bearing in mind, especially if you're a permanent makeup artist, you're very likely to see these customers on a regular ongoing basis. If you're an SMP artist, of course, you've got ongoing requirements for these customers as well. So to set out the boundaries from the start is really, really important. What you don't want is a situation where you end up with a customer that you wish you hadn't taken on. The other issue, of course, is that these customers will often say, oh, I've got 5 friends, I'll bring them along if you just do this for me. I mean, rarely does that actually happen. And if you want to make some concessions when they bring 5 friends, then that's up to you. But rarely will it happen. But also bearing in mind, if you've not set the correct boundaries in place from day one, what you might end up with is 5 customers who also don't respect your boundaries. So just bear that in mind. Some clients simply need firmer management, okay? They simply need to have boundaries put in place very strongly so that they understand what they can expect, what they cannot expect, and what the service level agreement is effectively going to be. So, for example, I will make an exception for you, Mrs. Client. I will come in at 7 p.m. and do a procedure because that's the only time you can do it. That's fine. However, Mrs. Customer, please understand that this is outside of my usual working hours, and I'm not going to be able to do this on an ongoing basis for touch-ups. Is that okay? Yes. Done. That's all it takes. So sometimes these customers simply need to be shown a stronger direction. Bear in mind as well, some of these customers may have had previous permanent makeup with other artists who may not have set any boundaries in place. And it's quite possible that that client's actually been fired by a previous artist. If other artists haven't set boundaries in place, then you're going to need to. If you show any kind of weakness in this area, what you're opening yourself up to is you'll find that clients will start asking for refunds for the smallest reasons. They'll start becoming really unreasonable, and any little bump in the road is going to result in a request for a refund, probably linked to a threat of a bad review. This is where customers start not showing up or cancelling at the last minute or showing up late. This is where customers start requesting discounts or special treatment, where customers start failing to adhere to the aftercare requirements because they take the view of, oh, it'll be okay, my artist will sort it. In extreme cases, a lack of boundaries can lead to rudeness, threatening behaviour, and bullying. It can and does happen all the time. This is your business. You're the professional. You call the shots. If customers are not prepared to fall in line with your policies and the way that you do business as an artist, then they are not the right customer for you, and you need to feel comfortable in telling them that. Now, this doesn't mean being inflexible or unreasonably stubborn. Okay, these are human beings, and we have a level of customer service that has to be delivered. And I do see in a lot of the Facebook groups, I see this bandwagon where a customer has said something that's slightly unreasonable, and all these artists jump on it and say, fire the client, fire the client. You know, you put her in her place. And it's like, these are service-based businesses that we're running. Okay, it's not as simple as that. Okay, customers have a right to expect a certain level of flexibility and a certain standard of service. It simply means that there's an expectation that the client will be respectful of you, of your business, of your time, and of your policies. So in practical terms, how do we set these boundaries? How do we put them in place? How do we communicate them to our customers to make sure they understand? And how do we do so in such a way that remains customer friendly, customer focused? Well, one of the best ways of doing this, and not every artist can do this, I appreciate that, but one of the best ways is to hire somebody else to handle your client communication. Let me explain why. When you have somebody else answering phone calls, answering WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages, and so on, what that does is it creates a barrier between you as the artist and the client, but not in a negative way. What it means is that clients are less likely to try to manipulate you because they don't have direct access to you. It makes customers appreciate your time more because you are not personally accessible. The time that they get with you is during that period of time where they are in your clinic having their procedure done, whilst at the same time all of their procedural requirements, all of their aftercare requirements, service requirements are all being met by this other member of staff. And also, you can hire somebody specifically for their assertiveness. So if you're in a situation where you're not feeling particularly confident in handling difficult customers, well, you can hire somebody who is. So you hire somebody very specifically in mind who is able to deal with these types of customers and handle them professionally and assertively. The next thing that you need to do, and I see a lot of artists doing this, okay, is you must not bury your policies and your terms and conditions. You know, having a terms and conditions page that no one's ever going to read with a policy buried away in those terms and conditions is not going to help you. From a legal point of view, sure, but from a business management point of view, your customers are not seeing it, they're not agreeing to it, not even aware that policy is there, and that's what we're trying to tackle here. Let's say, for example, you have a customer who places the booking over the phone or comes in and has a face-to-face consultation and makes the booking in person. What you need to do is you need to have a script ready with your policies that you read out during the booking process. So if they're on the phone and you've had a nice conversation and you've agreed what dates they're coming in, all you got to do is say to the customer, okay, listen, I'm just going to take you really quickly through our policies. These are the things you need to bear in mind. And then read out A, B, C, keep it brief, to the point. Don't read out the whole lot, just read out the stuff that's really important. If it's in person, then clearly you're not going to have a piece of paper with a script in front of you, in which case you just need to talk through your policies with the customer. You don't need to make a big deal of it. You just need to make sure that you've made them aware of what your policy is and give them the opportunity to ask any questions. If the booking is made via direct message on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or something, or it's made by email, then have a copy and paste ready to go. So have all your policies in place. So say you're having a WhatsApp conversation And it's like, yep, great. So we've got booking for this day, this time. Brilliant. This is what you need to do to prepare for your procedure. Final thing, here's our terms and conditions. Please reply to confirm that you're happy with our terms and you understand them. If you have any questions, let me know and have them reply, and then screenshot that conversation, including the reply where they've said yes, no problem. So just tell them to reply with the word yes. Okay, and then they reply yes. You've got a screenshot. That solves any arguments later. If they've done the booking online, maybe through a booking system like Vagaro or Acuity or Square or something, build your terms into your booking page, not buried behind like a tick box thing. You get some of these where it says you tick this box to agree to the terms, and then you click on terms and it will fire up this page. No one's going to read that. Make sure that you bullet point your 2 or 3 most important terms and you have them right above the book now button. Okay, if your booking system doesn't allow you to do it, then maybe talk to them about how that can be done, or if not, change your booking system. It's really important. And then once the booking is complete online, you then follow up with an email explaining those terms again, possibly with them attached at that point. The next thing that you can do is you can record your phone calls. It's actually a really easy thing to set up. There are so many systems out there now, especially now the majority of phone systems are web-based. There are apps you can get for iPhone and Android that enable you to record your calls. There are also, for a fixed system where you have like a desk phone, voice over IP, there are a multitude of different options available. If you're using a desk phone type setup, have a look at close.com, C-L-O-S-E, close.com. They have a system that enables you to record calls, and it's also a customer record management system as well. Have a look into that. And there's a ton of apps that will do it if you're taking calls on your mobile. The great thing about recording your calls is that you can make customers aware that the calls are recorded. No big deal. All you got to do is just say, for quality and training purposes, all calls are recorded. No biggie, right? They hear those words every day when they're calling up various different companies. And you can reinforce this in your terms and conditions as well. You can say that all calls are recorded. So that way, if a customer has said something or something has been said to the customer, and the customer later argues that it wasn't said, you have backup and proof. But because you've made the customer aware that the call's been recorded, you're actually less likely to encounter that problem in the first place because they know the calls are recorded. Last but not least, the single biggest thing you need to do to set proper boundaries with customers is to stand by your policies with confidence. Okay, there's so much anxiety and guilt wrapped around policies. I see this in the groups every day. People saying, this has happened with this customer. My policy is this, but I'm not sure what to do. There should be no question. If you're not comfortable with your policies, then you need to change your policies, or you need to change the way you view your policies. Because if you can't stand by your policies with confidence, then either you lack confidence, and to be fair, if that's the case, then there's no solution other than you either need to address that issue and you need to get confident to deal with these policies because they're an important part of your business, or you need to hire somebody who can handle this for you. Or your policies are unfair. Your policies are not there to lay down the law to your customer. They're not there to swing the balance so heavily in your favor that you're covered for every tiny little thing. The policies are there to ensure that the customer is treated fairly and amicably and with a level of respect, and to protect them while also protecting your business and your time. That's what your policies are there for. You need to be really honest about whether you are struggling to stand by your policies because you're not confident enough to do so, or whether it is because your policies are simply wrong and need to be revised. I would be very careful what advice you listen to. Quite often when you go into the Facebook groups, which I know is where a lot of our industry spend their time, you ask about policies, you'll end up with the most rigid version possible. And honestly, I don't think that's the right approach. I think with policies, they need to be customer friendly as well as business friendly. You need to stop trying to please everybody because you're never ever going to achieve that. Clients can and do take advantage. Okay, they're not all behaving in the way that you would like them to. And sometimes they're being unreasonable. Sometimes they're just trying to get a damn refund. They don't care whether they're right or wrong. They're just trying their luck. Now, at the same time, don't be an asshole about it. Okay, clients are people with lives, complications, anxieties. They may have children. They may have a sick relative. They may be super under pressure at work. Sometimes when a customer doesn't show up on time, is 10 minutes late or something like that, there's a very valid reason. Life happens. Don't be difficult about it. There's no need. Stand by your policies, but at the same time, always be kind. Now, that's from me. That's everything. Thank you very much for listening into this episode. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell icon to make sure that you don't miss any of our videos. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast channel, then don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any feedback or comments, please feel free to let us know. We would love your feedback. But until next time, adios.